New York City this morning. While the debate around the phrase gun control is a heated one, another set of words, executive action, also sparking quite a bit of controversy. In Texas, one Republican congressman is threatening to impeach President Obama for any efforts he tries to take on his own, as far as gun control is concerned. And the former Attorney General for President Reagan, Edwin Meese, in an interview with the conservative media outlet Newsmax, Meese says impeachment is possible.
It would not be legal, it would not be constitutional, and indeed, if he tried to override the Second Amendment in any way, I believe it would be an impeachable offense.
On another front, the NRA has unveiled a new ad. We've been talking a lot about that ad this morning. It labels the president a hypocrite. Listen.
Are the president's kids more important than yours? Then why is he skeptical about putting armed security in our schools when his kids are protected by armed guards at their school? Mr. Obama...
That clip is posted on a website called Stand and Fight. An NRA spokesman tells CNN, quote, "Stand and fight sums up what Americans need to do to preserve our Second Amendment freedom." Joining me now is Jason Johnson, chief political correspondent for Politic 365 and a political science professor at Hiram College in Ohio, and Republican strategist Ron Bonjean. Welcome to both of you.
Good morning.
Thanks very much.
Good morning, Jason. I just want to get your thoughts on this ad because it's powerful.
It's powerful and it's ridiculous. It's sort of like saying, why does Barack Obama get a White House and other people can't pay their mortgage? I mean, look, the president's children should always be off limits in any sort of political discussion one way or another. And the idea that them getting protected is in some way an indicator of him not caring about other children in this country, I think is ridiculous. But it works very well for the NRA. They're going to get to call the president elitist, and Democrats and liberals will respond to it, and it'll raise them a lot of money. But I don't think it furthers this debate at all, and really it just sort of lowers this discussion to name calling rather than really talking about the dangers of gun violence in America.
Ron, do you think it's ridiculous?
Well, I do think it's probably over the top, but it's extremely effective. I think people are already talking about it, and they're trying to get an effort going regarding protection in schools, having armed guards in schools. Now, do I think that's possible? I think the money isn't there for it, but the ad itself is driving a lot of news on it. And yes, it is quite aggressive, but it is effective, and everybody's talking about it right now.
A lot of free advertising right here on CNN. I got to admit to that, Ron. You're right about that. The ad doesn't just target President Obama now. Take a look at some of the other stars.
Mr. Obama demands the wealthy pay their fair share of taxes, but he's just another elitist hypocrite when it comes to a fair share of security.
Okay, you see there's Mayor Bloomberg, NBC anchor David Gregory, and Senator Dianne Feinstein. So, I mean, they're tapping into that, too, because many people think that the media is one-sided on this issue, Jason.
Well, yeah, didn't we do this for the last 2 years? The election's over, okay? The whole Barack Obama is part of this elitist cabal of New Yorkers and Californians who don't like flyover country. It's a dead argument, and it doesn't move things forward. What the NRA should be talking about is, hey, let's make sure people have to be licensed properly to have their guns. Let's make sure that people have to make sure that they actually know how to use a gun if someone comes into their home. These sorts of name callings and attacks, again, it raises money, it gets people talking, it does not move anything forward, and it doesn't help the NRA's reputation with the public, which is something I think they should be concerned about right now.
And Ron, Jason has a point, because this could create a backlash. A recent Washington poll shows, Washington Post poll, I should say, ABC News poll, shows 44% have an unfavorable view of the NRA's leadership.
Well, I don't think that necessarily matters to the NRA. I think that what their goal is to protect gun rights, to protect the rights of the Second Amendment. And, they're going to do everything possible to make sure that happens. And you have Republicans and Democrats joining together, that will end up joining together to fight President Obama's proposal, frankly. I mean, you have red state Democrats in the Senate, Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid extremely cool to this proposal, as well as Senate Judiciary Chairman Pat Leahy, a Democrat, who's going to take his time and look this over. I think that this is going to end up being dead on arrival in Congress. They're going to get very little done here, and the only thing that you're going to see is executive action.
Yeah, but the thing is, if you step back and you look at what the American people want. There's a separate Washington Post poll that shows a majority of Americans support measures like bans on assault weapons, high-capacity ammunition clips, and background checks on gun shows. These are the kinds of things that President Obama will suggest today. It has nothing to do with taking Second Amendment rights away.
But the American people also want the economy and jobs to be taken care of first, for spending issues to be taken first before they get to these issues. And when you get to these issues and you go one layer deep, you start peeling, you get... The devil is in the details here. So when you're talking about an assault weapons ban, what does that mean? Can gun manufacturers just change the specifications? When you're talking about magazine clip restrictions, does that mean, look, if you go from 10 bullets to 7 bullets, will somebody go out and buy 2 and 3 guns just to replace the problem? So they have to really look at the issue here. And not only that, but obviously we've been, there's a big focus now on mental health. And what does that mean? Does that mean health privacy rights will come into play here as well? So,
Jason, go ahead.
Yeah, I just got to say, the American public expects the president to be able to do 2 jobs at once. He can pat his head and rub his tummy. He can work on the economy and he can do something about gun violence. So I don't believe under any circumstances that Americans just want to sit by. They want background checks. They want their children to be safe, and they want to be able to keep their gun rights too. And all of those things can be done with common sense proposals, making sure dangerous people don't have guns, making sure people have to actually have them registered one way or another. And I think a lot of the Republicans and conservative Democrats and the NRA are standing in front of what the American public actually wants, because they want to keep making money with the gun rights industry as opposed to really caring about what the American people want.
All right, we're going to have to wrap it up. Ron Bonjean, Jason Johnson, thanks so much for the interesting conversation this morning.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is Walmart's $50 billion pledge to buy American-made products actually a bait and switch? Some critics say it's just a ploy to make you forget the giant retailer also sells assault rifles.
Almost tastes like one of Jack's cereals. Fiber One.